Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Just Believe Show. Today, I have a special guest that thankfully, I've met through a good mutual friend who I feel like, man, we have very similar stories that I had to put him on the show and give him his flowers because what he's doing for himself, like not even others, it's like the work that this man have done. I have to just like, man, give you space to let others know like healing is possible and it takes time and it takes our own journey. With that being said, Mr. Ian Lewis, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Definitely some ups and downs, but all things considered, life is amazing. So I'm happy, and thank you for having me, man. I'm excited. It's a blessing to connect with you. So I'm looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. With that being said, give a little background about yourself.
Oh yeah. So my name's Ian Lewis, born and raised in Philly, half black, half Italian, and now, as you'll hear a little bit of my story, I live in Ecuador, in like southern rural Ecuador, and I'm like getting into the farming life. As far as what I do for a living, I work for an online spiritual community called Sacred Inclusion Network, which is Pratiba, who connected us. She's a part of that. And so I'm pretty much like a virtual assistant or kind of do whatever needs to get done to harness and grow this community, which is really amazing. And then the other half is, I work for compost production and a soil or land regeneration company in Southern Ecuador. It's like a startup. And that's where I'm getting my hands dirty, learning about farming and compost and just life with the earth. So that's a little overview.
Before we get to Ecuador, let's go back to Philly. How was that upbringing?
Philly was cool. I really loved my upbringing, my childhood. Um, So Philly, what I say is Philly has amazing people, like really blue collar, real, grew up middle class, definitely closer to the poverty, but never really knew it. I had everything, had food, played sports, had a lot of really good friends, good connections, and I pretty much lived my life on whether it's the field or the court. I was basketball, baseball, football since I was 5 years old. So I was in the team. I had good people around me. And I love growing up in Philly. It's just raw, it's real, and Philly is forever in me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I get it. I'm originally from the Bronx. I was born and raised pretty much in the South Bronx, and just that grittiness, man. It's something about that. I can't explain it to people who haven't been there. Like either you're gonna go with it or you're gonna sink or swim. And for myself, being up in the Bronx, things that you don't want to see. I lived in the projects pretty much my whole entire life in the Bronx, and that was something that I had. I was scared to tell people like, "Oh, I live in the projects," because of people think everybody in the projects is this type of angry, aggressive person, and for the most part, you can judge me if you want, but for the most part, I'm sitting here and I'm like, "Yo, dude, yes, I listen to Linkin Park. Yes, I listen to, like, John Mayer." Like, I'm listening to
Hey.
all these other things, other all these other genre besides hip hop and R&B and whatnot and rap. For that, a lot of people was just like, "Man, I didn't realize that you're from the Bronx and you live in the projects and you have this different type of personality." So I know I shouldn't say I know, but one can imagine for yourself, you said you was like on the skirts of poverty. Was there any conflicts of that? Just being from the outside, just hanging out with some of your friends that was in that environment?
First, I gotta say, hybrid theory is a classic.
Big
And
facts.
yeah. So what I was saying is, I was at the peripheral. The way for me to put it is, so you walk on my house, you take a left, you go to the top of the block. If you go right, in 2 blocks is Shelton Ave, which is the line. On the other side of Shelton Ave, you got drug dealers, you got poverty, you got welfare. It's wild. You take a left, you got produce markets, you got nice middle class homes, you got like historic. Germantown is just a very historic place. And so Haines Street, I lived on a street called Haines Street. And it was actually a gang, like the Haines Street Hustlers was like a big gang in the area. But I lived on West Haines Street. So I was like right off the cuff. So people heard, like, "Oh, you from Haines Street?" I'm like, "No, not that Haines Street. Like, I just live on Haines Street." So I was like the peripheral. I could see, I saw crack addicts playing whatever, gambling or whatever. But like I was far enough away that, and my mom kept me playing sports, so she kept me away from it enough. But it was definitely there. Once I got older, I was like, oh wow, like, it's real. Once I really, yeah.
So you mentioned sports. It's because for me, sports was like basketball is my coping method. That's the thing that helped me when I have my mental health challenges. They come in waves. One day is amazing, the next day is like, oh. And for me, hooping was the thing that made me feel comfortable. It was just more the thing of, man, I didn't have to think about the outside problems. I just had to react and make sure that whoever I'm guarding don't drop 50 on me. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes, yes, yes.
Because if not, they're gonna talk about it for forever. So with that being said, how was sports for you? Was it just a certain type of sports that you just played? Was it baseball? Was it basketball? Was it all?
Sports was my life. Baseball, basketball, football. I played like 14. My dad signed me up for football when I was 4 years old, which is to this day insane. I remember
Savage.
the only thing I remember is they told me I was on special teams, and I was like, "Oh, I'm special." That's what I remember from that. But yeah, it was literally my life, and like I so sports, and like I said, it kept me. I wasn't in the hood. So I wasn't thinking of all these issues. I was like sheltered from that, but I was close enough. And even just playing sports we had this one court at Pickett, and I would just be hooping, and like sometimes wild like fights would get off and wild thing, and I had like older homies would just be like, "Yo, chill, chill, like move aside." But yeah, another thing I say is that so I went to in North Philly is like the hood. I played basketball in the hood. People be smoking weed, talking reckless. And then the next day, I had a baseball tournament in the suburbs where like a friend of mine who I didn't even know, their dad owned some $1 million company, and he was buying us Phillies tickets and getting us all this nice gear. So I got to experience like both sides. But like I said, is I was just hooping, man. I wasn't really worried about nothing. I was having fun. I was trying to get buckets. So sports was a big, huge part of my life.
Good, 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 good. Are you a Phillies fan?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, hell
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Sooner or
Yes,
later,
sir.
this podcast is gonna be over soon.
Ah, oh yeah, Bronx. That's even yeah, it's right. It's
But
real.
with that being said, was now you mentioned your father introduced you to sports. Did you guys have a great bond?
So interesting. So me and my dad, as I got older, I realized that the only connection me and my dad had was sports. So when I growing up, I felt like he was always around. My mom and him got divorced when I was 5, but he would take me to all my games, every single game, every practice, which was a lot of them. So he was always there. But as far as like school and any other part of my life, he was not really a factor. It was all my mom. But I didn't really realize that until so I went to play baseball in college for 1 semester, and it was a bunch of white dudes from a town.
All right. You talk about sports and how your father introduced you to it. Was you guys close or anything like that?
Yeah, so interesting enough, so I didn't realize until I got older that growing up, really my only relationship with my father was sports. So him and my mom got divorced when I was 5 years old, and he would be at every game, baseball, basketball, football, every practice. He would take me there, take me back. It felt like he was in my life. And then, so I didn't really realize until probably I was 18, I stopped playing collegiate baseball. I played 1 semester at Rutgers Camden, and then I realized I didn't want to do this. When I stopped playing baseball in college, like our relationship just stopped. And it was like slow at first, but we just realized we didn't really have anything to connect on. So as I look back, I was like, wow, like every other aspect of my life, like my school, my health, my everything, it was all my mom. But just the sports aspect was my dad. And because I played so much sports, it didn't feel like he wasn't there until I got older. And I was like, oh, there's a big gap in our relationship for sure.
How did that affect you? Obviously, you had that aha moment of, man, dude, I know I'm not on the baseball team anymore, but I'm still your child.
What's interesting, it's crazy because I wasn't the most reflective person at this stage. So I was just really just living my life. Like I was in college, I was having fun, I was like on a good trajectory of life. So I didn't even really realize that our relationship was like peeling off. It was just like little by little. As I got older and I went through everything I went through, it affected me deeply. And I realized that there's trauma there with like the lack of a real father figure besides taking me to my games. And we still, I had love for him. It was a great relationship, but it was just like sports and it was surface level. And as I learned more, I realized he didn't know how to be a father. He went through a whole lot. So yeah, it was definitely painful going through the realization of, oh wow, I got a lot of flaws in my life that stem from me not having a dad who like cared about me other than getting me to the league.
Oh, man, dude, I resonate with me so much. So, like, my dad didn't really introduce me to basketball, it was more my cousin. I looked up to him, he's my role model. During the time, he was balling against, like, it's crazy now that I think about it because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, wow, he's balling against Rod Strickland, Kenny
Mm.
Anderson."
Oh,
Sometime
oh,
leagues, like, yeah, he was, like,
in New
hooping,
York,
and yeah, in New York, and then this kid named Stephon Marbury, you may have heard of him.
yeah, a little bit.
And my cousin was, like, pretty good, and with that, it was just like, oh, like, he hooped, so I only way I can go outside is to hoop. But then when it came to sports, my dad, we don't really have a great relationship. He introduced me to baseball, right?
Mm.
He's like, "Oh, hey, let's play baseball." Dude, I had no idea how to play baseball. Okay, I hit the ball, I ran to third base. I was like, "Oh, I thought I was supposed to go to any base." So then, like, his way, very similar to your father, was bonding with sports. When it came to school and stuff, it was all mom. Mom, hey, why is he failing? I'll talk to him. You want to go to the Mets game? All right. If you wanna go to the Mets game, get an 85. It's
Bro,
okay, but I can't but I'm like, here I am playing, like, NBA Live during the time. Dude, I'm not even studying, I'm just playing video games. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized, like, very similar to you, I had an aha moment. Man, my dad don't know who I am. And in a sense of as a person, yes, I'm his son. Yes, he knows my favorite sports team and my favorite players. But as a dude, he knows my favorite color, right? My favorite movie, right? And just very similar to you, about, like, was it 19? Yeah, 18, 19, I left. I left New York. I was unfortunately in a maneuver shootout. It had nothing to do with me, just wrong place, wrong time. Made it safely. Called my girlfriend during the time, who is now my wife, and she was like, "Hey, come to Tampa." And from there, I just was like, "Yo, I'm out." And when I'm out, like, living in Tampa, the relationship was just very face value, the small texts here and there. And doing the college thing, getting your beer pong on, partying, turning up, doing all the things that you're supposed to do, I guess, at that age. But it's discovering yourself and
yeah, yeah,
realize what
yeah.
works for you. And now that I'm older and I realize now that I'm a father, I want to be more hands-on than ever. Like I don't like all my friends know I love basketball. I was pretty good. And they're like, "Hey, are you gonna teach your kids how to play basketball?" I'm like, that's the last thing on my mind. I'm
Right.
more concerned of teaching my kids how to read and write. It's like,
Yeah, seriously.
you know what I mean? That's the thing that I'm more concerned about, making sure that they understand they counting to 100. My kids are 3 and 5 right now, and that is more important to me if they can shoot a jump shot, swing a bat, or throw a baseball. So with that being said, I feel very I don't know, that just resonated with me, man. I'm about to
Yeah,
go
there's
on
a lot
on my
of
TED I'm about to go on my
yeah,
TED Talk rant.
yeah.
But it's something that I realized now that I'm older, I took a step back and very similar to you, you realize, man, my dad had me at a young age, but not only did he have me at a young age, he done went through some things that I didn't know about until like you have those conversations of, yo, why you not checking on me? Oh, what's up? Like, what's going on? And he peeled back the curtain on some stuff, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I'm like, "Look, I don't judge you. Like, we can't go back to when I'm 5. That's never gonna happen again. But what we can do is work on our relationship, and you have to meet me where I'm at. And if you don't wanna meet me where I'm at, then unfortunately, it was nice to know you because I'm not that same 13-year-old kid sitting by the door waiting for dad to come take him to a Mets game, right? Like I'm not that kid anymore. I'm a man who has his own kids that want to show them love and encouragement.
There's a lot of interconnectedness here
Yeah, we're gonna
for
talk
sure.
outside of this. How was the college experience? Being a college baseball player.
Oh, being a college baseball player was trash, to be honest. I went to Rutgers Camden. The whole team was like white boys from townships in New Jersey. I played baseball. Practices were like 3 hours. I was trying to do school, and they gave me like a job to help me financially. So I was just busy all the time. The college I went to was smaller than my high school. Like I said, I did one semester. Like I didn't even play my a full year. I did one semester. I'm like, oh, this ain't it. Like I'm not about to spend 4 years here. So then the next semester I went to community college in Philly, and then I transferred to Temple University my sophomore year. And that's when college got fun because it pretty much became a party. Yeah. So that was yeah, pretty yeah. So sophomore year, I said I lived with a roommate called him a frat star. And this was as being half white, being half black, I could like navigate very comfortably in both places. So he asked me to be his roommate, and he was in the frat. And I would just come back sometimes and just be like a bunch of girls and frat boys drinking, partying, like doing the whole nine. And so I had actually been throwing parties. I started throwing parties in high school. And I peeped the scene. I was like, I just wanted to party like every weekend. That's what I did, connect with my friends. And then junior year, I like found my friend had this one place that he was staying at. And I was like, oh, it's the perfect party house. So I actually like moved into a house. I got five of my friends, or four of my friends, and one other person who wanted to move in. And from the jump, we just do parties. And that was like a crazy year. It was just, we had so much fun, a lot of chaos. So horrible things happened in that experience. Like we got robbed. There definitely like just college parties, women. I'm not gonna say there was harassment, but there was definitely like some disrespect that we did not know how to navigate. And Temple's indoor Philly, so it was just like some hood activities going on in the very close peripherals. But yeah, so my college experience, first semester was like I said, trash. Then it was just like parties, fun, and I was on a good trajectory. And then, as we'll get to, so that was my junior year, and then college took a really big turn that you can get into however you want. I could just get right into to it, or
Yeah, yeah. How was the temple?
Temple was fun. It's a very diverse place, a lot of interesting people. People come from different parts of the country, a lot come from Philly. For me, the school, it was whatever. Literally, I went to I went to college because they told me to go to college, and I just wanted to play baseball. And then I realized it wasn't for me. And then I went to Temple, and I was like in sports and recreation management, only because I didn't know what else I want to do with my life. Oh, I like sports. They got a sports major. I'll do that.
Yeah.
So like school was really a side thing that I did good enough that I could take the next step. But yeah, I was active, man. I was at parties, I was chasing girls, I was taking road trips to Penn State in New York and Pittsburgh, wherever the hell anyone would take me. Yeah, I was getting active.
So when you was in temple, clearly you just I'm gonna do sports just to do sports. Was there anything there that was like, man, maybe I should take this college experience more serious than just to turn it up?
Not really until after the traumatic event that happened.
You want to talk about
But
it?
yeah, I think that's why we're here. Why not, right?
That's not one of the reasons, but if you want to talk about it, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I guess I'll to answer the question. Prior to what happened, no. The answer was no. The answer was I was just doing enough to get by and I was there having fun. And then the story goes that it was my last day of junior year in college and we were celebrating, got turned up, got drunk, and we were walking to a bar. It was called White Girl Wednesday. And so walking to the bar, it was me and four of my friends, and we're all drunk. And I just tell them I gotta pee in the bushes real quick. Go pee. As I'm finishing up, I see a cop come over and ask me what I'm doing. And I was just like, yo, I'm peeing. We're good. And he said something, but didn't seem like it was really an issue. And I was like, oh no, I'm just peeing. And I gave him a thumbs up and he didn't really react. So I just walked past him. And so I walked past him and then I met up with my friends, me thinking that's the end of that. Turns out the cop he was a bicycle campus cop. So he got on his bike. He like came up behind me and tried to do some like tackle maneuver and grab me like from the bike. And I saw it. I dodged him, ran to the left. I said I was drunk and it was raining. So I tried to jump down a flight of steps. There was way too many steps for me to ever do. And so I slipped and pretty much I tried to get up. He tackled me and there was like a wrestling thing. And I guess he had called backup because very quickly, like five other cops came out of nowhere and they just wrestled me to the ground, got a couple punches off on me, got a couple kicks off on me. And then like my friends came in with the cameras and were just like, well, this is ridiculous. What are y'all doing? And then, so yeah, so they took me to the hospital. And I remember waking up at Temple Hospital, handcuffed to the bed with a light in my eye. And I remember the Indian doctor is a nice fellow. And then I had a black eye, my clothes were all torn at the hospital down. And then the next morning, they took me to jail or like the holding cell. And I remember the ride there. The cops were trying to convince me that it was my fault. Well, I had drank a lot, but not enough to black me out. So I hadn't remembered what happened. And I was just like, no, not at all. Like I know exactly what happened. So we had a little bout or verbal bout, let's say. And I was angry, obviously. and then went to jail, the holding cell. And I remember like took out the shoelaces, took off the belt, took the pictures, and did a whole 8 hours in jail, which that's like a whole nother story I could tell you about. That was just craziness. Finally, after 8 hours of jail, my mom bailed me out. So I got out of jail. And then I found out with all that happened, obviously that was traumatic. That was chaotic, but I came out of it with a black eye. At that moment, I was just worried because I was on a good trajectory of my life. I had some really good things going for me. So literally I was scheduled 2 days after I got beat up, jumped by the police. I was scheduled to go to Jamaica for a service emergent project where I think it was like 500 people wrote an essay and they picked 12. I was one of them who was picked. So every Friday from January to May, we'd come together, meet up, talk about our trip, learn about the culture. So I wasn't allowed to do that because it happened on Temple's campus, and the cops were saying that like I attacked them pretty much. They lied about it. So I wasn't allowed to go to Jamaica, which like broke my heart. And then also I had got an internship that summer at a camp for mentally challenged, autistic, disabled children and adults, where I was going to learn how to run a summer camp and just learn how to. I was thinking about getting in that field. So that was a paid internship, by the way, $10 an hour, which was a big deal back then. And that was through Temple. So then they also took that away from me. And the kicker of it all was that the next semester I had been accepted to study abroad in Rome, Italy, where I was going to be roommates with one of my good friends. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm half Italian. So I was very excited to go back, live in my roots, the country of my roots with my really good friend Rashid. And so I got all three of those taken away from me. And that was like devastating just because I drank too much and maybe wasn't polite to a police officer. And then to add the kicker, maybe like 2 weeks, a little bit, maybe a month later, I found out that the police officers had charged me with 5 charges, one being aggravated assault on police officers, which is a felony. And so talking about potentially 10 to 15 years in jail for peeing in a bush and having a miscommunication with a police officer. That was just the worst. That was super devastating. And if you have any questions, now I
No,
can, because
it's
the
just
story just goes.
even with that, like from that experience of you're at a place of, I'm gonna say happiness, but you're at a place of I'm content. I know where my life is gonna go. And when I'm time I turn 28, I should be at this position because I have all these opportunities from going to Jamaica, from going back to Rome to actually learning about that side of your roots. Oh man, I actually get to embrace this. And all it took was an officer that if he had an issue with you peeing in the bushes, he could have said something right then and there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Maybe give you a fine or something like that and keep it pushing. All right, cool. I could be mad about that. But at the end of the day, you could have went to Jamaica, you could have went to Rome. And for him to take it to the next level, it's wow, but it does happen. It
Yeah.
really does. A lot
Yeah.
some people that's listening may not understand. Like, I had numerous situations with cops where they thought I was someone else or they thought I did something. I'm like, "Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about." Like, it didn't go down like that. So just to hear that experience is, oh, unfortunately, it does happen. And one can imagine when you like, "Man, the time I'm 28, I'm gonna be at this place in my life." Now that everything is taken away, you're like, "Yo, I don't know where I'm gonna be when I'm 28. Hell, I probably don't even know where I'm gonna be tomorrow." And that could just really go to a place of depression, right? Where you sit back and you like, "Man, F the world." You know what I mean? Like, I put out so much positive energy, and then all it takes is just one incident and they took it to the extreme. Nobody believed my story or care about my story. You know what? Imma go they're gonna paint me out as a villain. I'm going to go be that villain. I'm gonna shut off to the world, maybe get drunk, you know what I mean? Maybe get high, do something that I normally don't do because that's the only way I know how to vent. Because as of now, when I say, "Hey, this was actually happening," you guys don't wanna really hear me, let alone listen to me. So, what was that, I guess, in that moment of that obviously, that moment, you're sad, but in that period of time, was it a long depression? Was it anger? Was it fear? Was it what was the emotions, I should ask?
Ooh, so this there's so much that happened from that. That happened what May. 2011. I want to say 2012. And then until like 3 years, it was a whole journey. But literally, actually, when it first happened, I was actually like really sad that I lost all these things. And obviously, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. So for me, I went the other way. But you know what? Like, I'm about to be so good at life. Like, I'm about to turn. Remember, like that summer was really hard, but that summer wasn't really like the depth of my depression. That summer was like, okay, this is super unfair. There was sadness. There was all this. But the next semester, I was actually like, you know what? I'm about to go harder in school. Like, I remember I had essays that I was like doing 3 weeks at. As soon as I got the essay, I was doing it. I was like so focused because it's all I had. It's all I had. I just didn't know what else to do. So I just put all my energy into school. And literally, I'll never forget this. It was Hurricane Sandy. And so we had Monday off, one Monday off. And my friend called me. He was like, yo, we're about to go smoke in the alley. You trying to come hang with us? My man, Brandon G. I shot him out. And I was literally like, no, I had an essay due in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, I'm going to work, get this essay out of the way just because that's where my mindset was. And then I'm working on this essay for 10 minutes. And I'm like, yo, fuck this essay. Like, this shit's due in 3 weeks. What am I doing? I'm going to hang with my friends. So we're in the alley, we're smoking. And then he comes up, he's, yo, about in the B room, about the Anunnaki. And I'm like, no, what is that? Pretty much it's just like alternative history about how aliens came to the planet and affected pretty much human history in all these different ways. And I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? This shit is crazy. Get out of here. We're super high. And then he's no, like Ab Soul knows about it. Ab Soul knows about it. Ab Soul is a rapper that I was like just starting to get into. I'm like, what do you mean? And Ab Soul has a song called in the B Room. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, I listen to it, I'm like, what is this man talking about? So I go home and I start Googling like every word, every lyric all these words that I've never heard. And as I'm hearing this, I'm like fascinated, like aliens and technology. What is this man talking about? So I started Googling and like pretty much like I haven't stopped Googling since. It's like all these, I remember I had like 15 tabs open up like that night. And I just got obsessed with learning about aliens and alternative history. And then, so my school really dropped off. So that semester, I went from doing really good to just like not caring about school at all. And the next semester, then I started like getting more into conspiracies or what I call truth seeking. And I started getting really into it. So I was making these posts on Facebook about it. And people were like, oh man, Ian got beat up by the police. He's losing his mind. Help him out. Like people started, okay, Ian, like I'll holler at you, brother. And so I was trying to I was trying to balance the school and the situation, but I was like losing my mind because I went from learning about aliens to learning about history, to learning about geopolitics, to learning about spirituality, to learning about like the true roots of our society. Like just a very quick thing I remembered is I learned is that like the idea of an officer came from overseer, like a slave overseer. And that's the roots of what an officer is. And they were first tracked to get slaves back. And I'm like, fuck these officers. Like, and I'm learning about like how the banking system is like just created in a way to so money is facilitated to the top. And I'm just like, yo, I learned about the judicial system, how like justice for not us with this skin color, justice for a specific type of people. So I'm learning about these things while at the same time I'm still charged with a felony, going through like I'm having the dispositions and going to court. So like these cops are trying to lock me up for 15 years, knowing they're lying, looking in their eyes when they're lying to people, trying to take my life away for nothing, while I'm learning about all of the ills of our society and how a lot of our history, like they told us Christopher Columbus discovered America, but that man didn't step 1 foot on America. I'm like, what else are they lying about? And it turns out they're lying about a lot. But the kicker was that the next semester, like a year later, my girlfriend, she just couldn't take, I was going off the rails. She broke up with me a week before finals. So I was just like, it just killed me. Like it like heartbroken to the maximum, like whatever. And so I didn't go to any of my finals. I was like, fuck it. I was just roll blunts and smoke instead of going to my finals. So while all of my friends were graduating college, going to different jobs, doing different cool things, I was dropping out of college and my court date, got my court date. In 2 months, I was scheduled to go to trial so I wouldn't have to go to jail for 15 years. And that's when the depression really went crazy, where I became suicidal. And I was just sad all the time. I was either like, there wasn't a moment where I was either very high or I was probably thinking about killing myself. And that's when ultimately, like you, which I commend you for sharing this, man. But I attempted to commit suicide, and I just took, say, 6 to 8 pills, sleeping pills. And I always remember that I could have taken the whole jar, but I chose not to because I remember learning that like some people have done that and then actually got really sick. So they actually didn't kill themselves and it just caused more misery for themselves. So I remember thinking that maybe I'll just take a few and hopefully I won't wake up. If I don't wake up, bad. If I do, hopefully I don't get sick and I'll just deal with that then. And like I said, I just took a really long sleep. And I remember telling my mom that, and she was just like frantic, wanting me to go to psychologist and psychiatrist and the whole nine. But attempting was one thing. That wasn't even like the worst part of it. The worst part of it was one, like calling myself a bitch for being too scared to kill myself. Like even now, like that shit is crazy.
It's because the way we was brought up. It's one of those things where if you're a man, you can't be weak. You can't show any
Right.
vulnerability. You have to be strong at all time. Like if you're going to if you're going to commit to something, you have to do it, right? You say, "Hey, Ian, we're gonna go to this game at 4 o'clock." I already committed that I'll be there at 4. I have to be there no matter what, even if I'm sick or not. It's just like being, from my perspective, being a kid and you're like 3, 4 years old, and they're like, "Yeah, man, you gotta do this. You gotta be weak. You can't be weak. You gotta do all of that." That affects you. And then when you grow up and you're 20, you're just like, "Man, am I a man? Because I don't wanna do it, but I do wanna do it." You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it's very challenging, uh, to say the least, of trying to be at peace with yourself, trying to learn who you are, but then also learning that I don't wanna take my life. I'm just really hurt.
Right.
This is just a way of me to express my emotion. Because even when you was sharing parts of your story and I'm listening from that one phone call that took you off the rails, you coulda easily just go, "Look, man, I hear you, I'm not listening." Because of the traumatic what one would think, the traumatic experience that you had with the police, and probably you was really close to your boy, you're just like, "You know what? I'm already having a crappy day. Let me just listen to him anyway." And it's, "Oh, yeah, I actually do listen to apps. So, yeah, I do listen to Black Hippy. Yeah, I listen to them." And to go down a rabbit hole that you're like, "Wait, hold on. This is interesting. Let me go down this rabbit hole," because you probably didn't realize it. Maybe being there on that campus was a trigger for you, because here you are fighting the cops that was on the campus that arrested you,
Right.
even though you're trying to be the good man that you are of like, "Man, I'm gonna ace these grades. I'm gonna be on top of my stuff. No matter what, I'm not gonna let anything hold me back because at the end of the day, I'm gonna make my family proud that, hey, look at this degree that I have. Like I did it, regardless of whoever held me back." But then there was part of you that was just probably, "Man, after school, bro." Like for real, I had
Oh,
enough
a
of it.
thousand percent.
And then when you go down this rabbit hole of truth seeking, that just opens up Pandora's box. And you're like, "Man, I'm more intrigued with this than my degree. Let me learn more about this." And regardless of whatever friendship or relationship you're in, they're looking at you like, "Bro, I don't know what you on."
Facts.
I love you, but right now we think about calling the people with the white coats because you're not making any sense. And that can be scary for you because it's, man, this is something I care about. This is something I'm passionate about that the average person may not be willing to listen to, let alone care about. And especially for the girl that you was dating during that time, you're like, "Man, hey, you're my whole world. Like, yo, look at this, look at this. Like, did you hear this? Did you read this?" And for her, she's, "Look, dude, I'm trying to graduate. Like, I care about you, but you
You
becoming
tripping.
you not even that, but you becoming a distraction for my goals and my dreams.
Wow, yeah.
All I'm trying to support you. I love you, but I love me more. Therefore, I have to break up with you." And then for that, it's one of the things of looking at it like, man, now you don't have a support system anymore. Now, maybe you do have your homeboy that you can sit down and have that conversation with about truth seeking, but then it's not the same when you're in a relationship with someone that you actually care about in a not like in a sexual and all that type of connection. And you're like, "Man, I don't even know what to do." And for you to even like, "Man, you know what? I'm thinking about taking my own life." is something that is scary for anyone. You
Right.
have to you had the suicidal ideations, but to really do the attempt is like the next like level. And then when you do the attempt, you like, do I really want to do this? I don't, but I don't. And as you said, like you look in the mirror, you're like, man, I'm a bitch, but I'm not a bitch because I want to live. But some part of you feel like you don't need to live. And I circle this and say all of this because I know when you had that conversation with your mom, it was probably one of the most difficult conversations you ever had to have because she's probably looking at you. No matter what, parents are always gonna look at you as that 3-year-old adorable baby, no matter how old you are. And she's like, "This is my baby. I carried you for 9 months. What do you mean you want to take your own life?" And one can imagine for you having that conversation was not only difficult for you and your mom, but just saying the words out loud was probably like, "Wow, what was I thinking?"
Yeah, I feel like to be totally honest with you, I think I was so traumatized that there's like gaps in my consciousness almost where like that, yeah, there's parts of the story where I don't even remember, but I feel like I was so like one, just like scared to get locked up. I remember I was just thinking about that all the time. If they put me in jail, I'm killing myself. There's no way I'm about to be in them bars for peeing in the bush. Like I was like so angry. And then I started learning about, I remember I went deep into slavery. And at that point, I didn't give a fuck. I was almost like, I was so angry. I feel like I was very brash with my mom. It wasn't even the, I can't believe this. There was just a no, if they do this to me, I'm killing myself. Fuck that. I'm sorry. Fuck everything. I don't care about anything. I'm so hurt. So I don't even remember having that like worry about what she thought because I was so hurt. And I know there was nothing she could do. And we had to work through that too, because obviously she didn't know what to say. She didn't know like what mom can ever do that. But like, yeah, from my memories, it was like those two things. There was so much anger. Like I just didn't give a fuck about anything. I was either like fuming angry or I was super high on my computer by myself. And that's my memory.
Okay. I can imagine that because it's like there's certain events that I don't remember. Like, I don't.
Right.
There's certain
Yeah.
events I don't remember. My wife was like, "Hey, do you remember this and this?" I'm just like, "No. When did that happen?" And it's crazy how the brain works, like, it protects you
Yeah.
from certain areas. For myself, I had to have that conversation with my parents, and that was very difficult. I hate to use the word difficult, but it was. And it was something that, for me, my parents was a trigger for my depression because I lived out in Tampa. They were still in the Bronx. It wasn't really reaching out too much to me. They wasn't visiting at all and not really showing any concerns. And so I'm like, man, I'm an actions over words type of person. Like you show me actions, I believe you. We all could say words, and sometimes the words do mean something, but if you're not showing me the actions, then I don't believe you. And they wasn't coming out visiting me, and during this time, I was like almost out here for 10 years. I'm in the
Mm.
middle of trying to figure it out. Your boy was struggling, okay, like trying to keep it all together. Yeah, I was going through my wife, but she's my wife now, but we was, like, breaking up off on and off, and I was just, like, lost, and I needed guidance, and from there, I was struggling financially, just like any other college kid would. You know what I mean? Ramen noodles goes a long way, but to have that conversation with them, it was like I was scared. I was like, I didn't know how they was gonna react, but then I looked at myself and was like, "Am I scared of their reaction, or am I scared of just saying what I've done out loud?" And then that just turned into anger of not anger, "Yo, I'm gonna curse you out" type of anger, but anger as, "Nah, like, you deserve to be heard because you've been asking for things and nobody's hearing you." When I sat down, obviously, it was okay. One parent was lashing out, like, in anger, and the other one was, like, calm, and I was just like, "I wanna live, first and foremost, but also I want a better relationship. If you guys I'm gonna hold a standard to you guys. If you guys don't reach the standard, then I'm comfortable deleting your number out my phone because I love me so much, and I had to learn how to love me on my own, so that was, like, very challenging. So, with that being said, obviously, Oh, tell us about the case. Did you win it? Did you lose it?
Okay, so they ended up actually dropping the case, and I pretty much had to do community service, and I had to do some class, and later I learned, as I learned more about the justice system, how it works, is they were never going to try me. We had footage, like it was never about actually putting me in jail. They just wanted me to scare me so much because they knew that they were in the wrong. So they wouldn't be in trouble. That they were going to put, we're going to lie, we're going to put the blame on him, we're going to put so much fear into him, and then right before the case, right, we're going to just drop it and then wash our hands. So that's how that ended. But then actually, because we had video camera, and there was two things on the like the security footage that, so he said one thing and the camera showed another thing. And one was like he said he had the back of my shirt and was like grabbing with me, but the camera clearly shows him like jumping up. And he told them that I said, "Fuck you, cop, come and get me," which is just to this day is so ridiculous. And the
This
footage
is
shows
not a
me,
movie, bro.
the footage shows me with two feet, like my thumbs up like this. "Fuck you, cop, come and get me." Like it just didn't make sense. We sued them, and then I had to go through the whole other process where now we're doing the whole thing again. And at this point, now I'm learning more about like how our system works, a lot of lies and illusions. And I'm in the court and they're speaking legalese. They're speaking in language that I don't understand. And I didn't even get a chance to tell my story. I remember being so frustrated in that freaking courtroom because I'm like, first of all, it's all white people from suburbs, the jury, except there's two black people. Only one of them went with me. The other one went with the cop, even though there was evidence that he lied. In my mind, I'm like, oh, we got him on a lie here. We got him on a lie here. We could prove that he was lying. But they were speaking legalese. I didn't even get a chance to tell my story. And that was just heartbreaking so much because I felt like we got him. He's a liar. He's lying. And of course, they went against me. And I'll never forget, like, I walked back. I got out of the court case and I just walked home, walked to South Philly, got my mom's crib, went back to my homie's friend, and I played To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick. And my homie left a full blunt for me. And I was in my room and I played the whole album and I like rapped like I was like, I think I might have gave a better performance than Kendrick ever could. Cause I was so angry, I was so passionate. And by the time that like the song, I don't know if you know the song You.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like wow, like, he's rapping about his inner demons. And I'm just like crying on the floor, looking at the mirror, just like a fucking wreck. And like to this day, like I feel like if I ever see Kendrick, like that was like one of the most cathartic experiences of my life. Like just getting through that album, we gonna be all right. Just like it was like a movie for real. But to get back is yeah, the trial just showed me that oh, there is no justice. There's a system in place to keep the powerful and what's the word walled off from any blame or culpability. And then there's a system for everyone else who doesn't matter the proof or the facts. If you black, you're probably going to get in trouble. And then at this point, I'm learning about all the statistics of how the percentage of incarcerated black people is to the roof, about the 13th Amendment, how it's pretty much still slavery in there, and how the treatment and just the whole, like I'm learning all about it. And then I'm experiencing it as well. I'm experiencing it like, no, don't tell your story. Shut up, shut up. We got this. We're the lawyers. We'll do this. And I just wanted to be like, shut the fuck up and let me tell these people what happened. And then they'll understand because I can tell them. But I didn't get to do that. And I just realized like, all this whole shit is a scheme. Like we've been scammed. And the first corporation was a plantation. Like all these things. And I'm learning them and I'm seeing them. There's a lot of people that I've known now, I've woken up. They're like learning these things, the stories. But I'm one of the few people that I know that like I was experiencing the conspiracies, the illusions, the deceit, all everything that happened to the Native Americans. I was seeing it happen to myself flat out in my face. And so that was like really like scary and powerful for me. But at the time, also it took a while because like after I don't have to go to jail. And then there's a whole process of suing them. So that whole process was like 3.5 years. So once I sued them and I lost, at this point, I was already feeling better about myself. I was like, sorry, I was a manager. I managed a singer. I started managing a band. So I was already on the up and up at that point. Like I was already feeling better about myself. But and still, and around that same time, I went away from the conspiracies, whatever, and I was going more towards spirituality. So I was learning about Buddhism. I was studying Buddha. I was studying Confucianism. I was studying Hinduism. And I'm like, oh my God, there's this like whole part of life, spiritual reality that nobody never taught about. This is me. This is it. Like, I was planning on becoming a monk, moving to um, Tibet or wherever. I was looking at different places and I just became fully in that. Now, like, I ended up looking at the seven sins and I'm blanking out the opposite of the seven sins, virtues, and just reading the seven virtues. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be that. So I flipped in a way of I've been through all this pain. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't kill myself, thank God. I'm learning how this society that wants me to work 9 to 5 and sell my soul to some corporation. I'm not doing that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I'm about to achieve enlightenment because all this bullshit, I'm not dealing with this bullshit no more. I'm about to be Buddha. And and obviously a lot of that was even surface level because there's so much emotions, there's so much trauma that took me years, 9, 8 years to even really look at. But I went left, and that's what like led me to the next step of my
But
journey.
when it comes to spirit, yeah, spirit, I can't even say the word right now. I'll let you know the type of day I'm having. But when it comes to learning about the spirits, right? I forgot who I had a conversation with the other day, and it was just like, "Oh, when you was at your depression, how was your spirit?" And I was like, "My spirit was broken, to be honest with you. I didn't
Yes.
know what to believe in." Yeah, I was going to all different types of churches, and then very similar to you, I don't know what happened, went down the rabbit hole and started looking at all these other type of religions, and then I was like, "Okay, what is religion?" Then I started, "Oh, spirit. Oh, okay. I don't necessarily have to be down with the Bible. I don't necessarily have to be down with the Quran. I could just be down with me and what I believe in and what not." And I say all of that because I went down a path of started I don't wanna say I started. My friends started isolating themselves from me. I wasn't being the party animal that they was used to. I wasn't being the Henny God or Mr. Anything Possible, but I was being more of, "Man, I wanna do some yoga. I wanna learn about meditation. I want to be outside more. I want to be near the water more." And they was like, "Yo, dude, you sounding like very, like, hippie." And I'm just like, "Nah, it's not hippie, man." I'm like, "Yo, just something about this." It's like being in the water, being near the water was just, like, really relaxing. And for me, like, meditation was something that I was like, "Oh, man, you have to wait for something to happen." But it was just like, for me, it was just sitting down and learning myself, right? "Hey, man, these are the traumas that's coming up. How are you gonna react?" It was pretty much like Neo in The Matrix, right? Like, when he spawned Morpheus and they into different rooms, and that's how it was for me. It was just, like, seeing myself as a kid and seeing the traumatic experiences that I went through. So when I was meditating, and meditating could be any type of form. I don't want to have to necessarily say it has to be crisscross applesauce, but I would sit there and I hear the water and I would just meditate and I would just have those images of the trauma that I experienced as a child. And then I would have the adult version of me watching it. And afterwards, when that kid cries, the adult me would go there and give him a hug spiritually and just say, "Hey, I'm sorry. No one's there for you, but I'm here for you. I love you. You deserve that." And that really led me down to a path of just being at peace with myself, learning how to be authentic with myself, learning to say, "Hey, this is for me. This is not for me." Because sometimes you feel like whatever happened to you it's because someone hates you. Someone's sending down these negative, like putting a curse on you or whatever. And then for me, I'm like, you know what? That happened for me for a reason. And the reason is to be comfortable with my past, learn who I am as a person, but also teach others that, like, hey, man, it's okay. Dude, I've been through some stuff. Just because I don't talk about it or I don't express myself about it all the time, and I carry myself in a certain ways for a reason, because I've been through there and I know I can resonate with you. Hey, let's go sit down. Let's try this out. Let's go do that. And the fact that I don't know, I feel like I'm talking to myself right now. Like
No,
with
no,
this
no.
no, like with the
I
conversation
resonate.
of not in the sense of like talking to myself, but like
Got you.
our stories are so like
Oh, I got you. I got you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. I
you went
got
down
you.
this path and I went down the path. I'm like, yo, I'm checking out all these documentaries, like just learning more about being at peace with yourself. And random guy, not random, but he's a legend, Bruce Lee. I was always watching Bruce Lee's movies as a kid. That's just what we did in the hood. And my dad was like the first person to put me on to Bruce Lee. But I used to listen to his interviews. And I'm like, man, why is he thinking like this dude is a philosopher for real? Let me learn more about that style. And he always had the famous quote, be like water. And notice how water just always, whatever environment water is in, it just goes with the environment. It doesn't go against it. And I just learned to just take that on and just, oh, okay, cool. I'm at peace with myself from the past that I went through. I'm not going to go against it. I'm not going to disown it. I'm going to own it. I'm here. Yes, I attempted multiple times. Yes, I've been in multiple shootouts. Yes, I've done seen things, did things that I'm not proud of. But guess what? That made me to the person I am today. Much kudos to you, man.
Thank you, man. You too, bro. You out here spreading the gospel.
I appreciate it. So now that you're thinking about being a monk, and did you ever sign up for it, or it was just like, I thought I wanted to be about that
Mm.
life, but come to find out, there's more to it.
At that point, I was getting to God, and I think God took me on a divine path that I could have never imagined. So yeah, I was at jobs. I was like landscaping. I was working in a painting company, painting houses. I was the last one. I did catering company, and all the jobs. I wasn't getting as much money. Things were full or whatever. And I just thought, oh yeah, my one friend opening it. He was a teacher, and opening his school, the after school program. So I started doing after school program, and that was amazingly fun. I was working with kids. I was immediately connected. I was the best after school program coordinator that ever existed. And that's the whole story. But I was doing that. And then my one friend, Rashid, shout out to She, changed my life. He got out of college and he wanted to be a lawyer, but he had a gap year before he like took his bar, or did the whole next step for that. And he ended up,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, my friend Rashid, shout out to She, changed my life. He wanted to be a lawyer, and he is a lawyer now. And he had a gap year before he like did his thing, took the bar, went to law school, and he didn't know what to do with his gap year. And then through another friend, he found out about moving to Asia, so he ended up moving to Bangkok to teach English. As soon as he got accepted, I'm like, yo, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm visiting you. Because at that point, I was like, I want to already move out of the country. Like, I was like, I'm tired of this police stuff. I'm getting out of here. So he goes to Thailand to buy a ticket on Christmas, never forget. Maybe 2 months after that, he goes, yo, dude, I think I can get you a job coaching basketball in Thailand. And I'm like, what? Sign me up. Like, he told me a story about how he got the job just like hooping at a park. Someone saw him hooping, which led to a job. He wanted to go back before he went to law school in Michigan. He wanted to spend that summer in Philly. So, long story short, he gets me a job coaching basketball in Thailand. And that forever changed my life. Cause now I'm like, that was probably like the best year of my life. And but even looking back, it was so great, man. Like my whole life was basketball. I was playing with professional players who played overseas in like Ireland and Australia and all over Asia. And my focus was the 5 to 8 year olds because I was really good at working with kids from the after school program. I had hooped my whole life. So it was easy for me. Like it wasn't even a job. I was showing up having blast. It was incredible. I was taking a new culture. And Thailand, Bangkok is a massive city, like the size of New York, 8 million, but it is a Buddhist country. And there is like a foreigner pocket where you don't really have to get too much into the Thai culture if you don't want to.
Okay.
But it was like for me, because I was interested in these concepts, I dove in. Like I was going to these temples in Chinatown, just walking into Buddhist temples, trying to talk to monks. And I was like in the early morning, I would see the monks doing their own. So like the people would give the monks food, and the monks would like do pray for them. And just it was like it was so community based and like family, and just like feeling that. It was even difficult for me to get in because it's like it's known to Thai people because American culture is took in Thailand and took its there's Marriott's in every American company. So they're, I don't know about your foreigners, but you guys are giving us a lot of money. So they're like the land of smiles, but it's hard to really get to know a Thai person unless you're like in the right system, whatever. But just like feeling that energy was like a great boost for me, as well as like my job was so much fun. I was playing basketball 3, 4 times a week with these amazing players. I was learning so much. I had just met my girl right before I left. So like we were FaceTiming every day, and she was a big part of my Thai trip. I went to India during my break. I ended up actually moving to Hong Kong. So because I just had this incredible, like it really flipped from I'm in Philly. I don't while I was managing a band, the plan was the band's gonna blow up. We're gonna make millions. I'm gonna take my millions and I'm gonna move out the country to wherever I want to go. Instead, God was like, no, you're gonna coach basketball in Thailand. But because it was so much fun, like and some of the experience I had was just like so unique, I was on cloud nine. I was loving it. I still had all this pain, all this trauma built up in me, but I didn't have to look at it anymore. I was living a dream. I was traveling. I went to Laos. I went to Cambodia. Like, I was making money and I was seeing the world. And at that point, I was like already planning on, like, okay, I'm going to Chiang Rai up in northern Thailand. I'm going to get a farm. I'm going to disappear. And so, as far as the question, did you become a monk? I did not become a monk, but was like given by God and by Rashid, my guy. I was given this opportunity to have such a unique experience. Thailand could be like 4 podcasts in its own. It
Yeah.
was so the depth of experience was unbelievable, and I was so happy. I ended up going back a year after because I wanted to finish my degree. I wanted to explore my life with this girl, and because of the band, I wanted to see if we could actually get them popping and famous. So I just did a year in Thailand. For the first time, it was 8 months in Thailand, 4 months in Hong Kong.
Ok.
But that was like my monk experience. That was my outer, like, just to be able to like just be happy all day, every day, and not have to look at my sadness.
So from Thailand, Hong Kong, how did you end up to where you're at now?
Good question. So, like I said, I met my girl right before, or we started hanging out right before I moved to Thailand. And for me, it was always like, I have to explore life out of the country because I just know there's something I just was calling me. And once I started learning about like Aborigines cultures and like the Mayans and the Hopis, and I just really wanted to like learn how to live with the land, be with myself, like spiritually heal while with the Mother Earth. I knew that was what I wanted, and my girlfriend was on a very similar way. And so when I came back, like it was like I'm about to get my degree, I'm about to figure out how to get some money, and then we're still about to like she wanted to go places too. But in 2015, she actually visited Ecuador. And just off the strength, literally she went there because she wanted to go to Bolivia because Bolivia is the highest population of indigenous people in South America per capita. But she couldn't go to Bolivia. And so she went to Ecuador, which is the second one. So she went to Ecuador, had an incredible experience, fell in love with it. And while I had already been planning on places I wanted to move to, like Thailand was number one. I was looking at Ghana because they had a program to bring African Americans back to Africa. I
Yeah.
was looking at Ghana, Mexico was an opportunity, and a few different South American countries. So that was a plan. And because one, so she moved to Miami when she was 15. So most all of her friends, I want to say, were Latin American, Panamanian, Colombian, Ecuadorian. So she just fell in love with that culture. So she was already interested. She had already started studying Spanish, and she was like getting really good. And she'd already been there again. So we're gonna save up some money and we're gonna take a few trips and see what's what. So that's the whole story. We went to Colombia, beautiful place, wasn't for us. Went to Peru, beautiful place, wasn't for us. And then she was like, I'm telling you, Ecuador's the move. And when we got
You gotta
here,
listen.
yeah, she wanted to check out the other places too. Once we stepped foot in Ecuador, like almost immediately, we're like, whoa, like something about this feels like it's it. And again, I got to Ecuador. It's going to be 3 years in January 24th. But
Congrats, man.
thank you, bro. Thank you. And that's a whole nother like crazy journey.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, one can imagine. Yeah, one can imagine. For myself, I was able and blessed to go to Ghana, and that experience was life changing to say the least. But the
right.
thing that I've noticed being there and watching most of the Ghanaians, these guys was like farming, like easily, like making their own stuff. And I was like, man, I wish I could do that in America. And it was so funny. We was at the supermarket and I joked with my wife and I was like, hey, you notice how anything's not organic? It doesn't say like organic on the package. It's just like it is organic. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because of the soil is so fresh. And while we was there, we was able to plant a few cocoa trees. And I was like, "Oh, man, this is fun. I would love to get more into that lifestyle." And very similar to what you said, it was very relaxing. Just I don't know, just touching the soil, being part of the soil.
And
And oh my goodness, dude, that was like the softest thing I ever touched, right? Like it was like how when it first snows and it's oh man, it's so soft. That's how the soil was. It was like it was so soft. I
yeah,
was like, "Oh
yeah.
wow, like this is, I'm not used to that in America." And for you to be out in Ecuador, and you mentioned earlier in the intro that you do some farming. How is that for your mental health?
It's unbelievably incredible. But seriously, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is something that like I had dreamed about doing. I had wanted to do it based off like learning about indigenous cultures, like the Ojibwe, whatever it is. So that was so fascinating. So it was like, it was just like deep in my soul, like, this is what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to do it. And then get to the point where I am doing it. Even when I first got here, there's so much unhealed trauma and pain. Like I literally, when I said I wanted to come to Ecuador, I said I wanted to heal, but I wasn't even ready to heal. And it took so much push from my girlfriend that like really she's the driving force of no, like you have to heal yourself. If this is gonna work, you have to. And she in so many ways, she helped me in so many ways. But like to get to your question, like finally when I was in the place where I live right now, where she's been an herbalist for 30 years. She's also a soil microbiologist. So she studies these things and she's heard that like, man, if I could show you where we live, there's all these medicinal herbs. It's beautiful. She's full of wisdom and knowledge and creating all these things. And to just be a part of it was like, yeah, it's just, I can't really quite put it into words, but it was just one of those things. It's oh, like, this is it. Like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that feeling like every day, multiple times a day, I just get to look around. Wow. Like, I would get to live. And you know, I'm in the Andes Mountains too. So it's just like sacred energy. And there's all these beautiful trees. And I'm in an amazing team. It's just so powerful. I really feel like I'm connected to my purpose and it's super empowering. And to be able to go through everything I went through to now be here, I almost feel like anything is possible.
Nice.
Like I feel like any challenge, like I'm ready because I was so close to not being here. I've been through so much hatred and pain and all these things. Every time I'm overseeing this farm now. We're growing anything. We got potatoes, sweet potatoes, white carrots. We got all these herbs, rosemary, and I'm just each plant I'm having a relationship with, and I'm learning how the radishes work, how the rutabagas work, how does the tomatoes work, and it's just empowering, man. It's just it's real. It's just I just love it. It's just love.
It sounds very I don't wanna compare it to basketball, but very relaxing. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, yo, I'm sorry you said that. I gotta interrupt you, bro. I gotta interrupt you. It's funny because so to this day, like I meditate every morning, almost every morning. I try. Basketball to this day is the most meditative thing I have. And when I first would hoop, like I was like aggressive and I gotta win. But then once I started playing in Thailand, based on my experiences, I get to the point where look, like I'm on this court, I'm with four of the brothers. We just gotta score and we gotta stop them. Nothing else matters. If we lose, cool, I try my best. If we win, bet. Let's get stronger. So like I get on the court and nothing mattered.
Yeah.
Like literally in my spiritual group, we're talking about flow right now. And like the only time I've ever had flow is when I play basketball and when I'm like weeding when I'm in the garden. And it's
Yep.
just like nothing else exists. Everything ceases to exist. And I'm just like with the plants or I'm with my brothers hooping.
Yeah.
And it's crazy you said that because it's serious. It's serious.
I said that because I told you I felt like I'm talking to me. I s
Yeah, it's real.
so I was hooping at the Y, and the Y, there's a couple, like, oh, no, older guys, but there's mainly younger kids, like teenagers, and they're like, "Hey, can you hoop? Can you hoop?" And the old me would be extra aggressive and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna smack him by, like, 40."
Right.
Right? Just because, like, the talent level, they're not on my talent. But,
Right.
like, now, like, very similar to the flow and very similar to what you said, I'm at a place of zen. Like, I just zen, I just go with the flow, right? I'm like, "Yo, I played with players that made it to the NBA." So it lets me know, like, I was my talent-wise, I was in that inner arena with them.
Right. Right.
Just the grades was just like, you're like, "Dude, fuck school." Right? It was just, like, just trauma all over, but so now, like, when I play with them, I teach them things. And then one of the kids was like, "Hey, have you ever been in the NBA? Did anybody ever?" Because you play like an NBA player, and you sound like one, how I break the game down, and I'm just like, "Nah, it's just oh, no, I haven't been in the NBA," but I'm
I'm
like
from the Bronx.
but I'm like I studied the game, I watched the game, and, like, very similar to you in Thailand, I just coach them up, and, some of them I see the potential, and some of them I'm like dude, you have so much more potential. But most of them, unfortunately, everybody wants to be like Curry. And I'm like, do you know how many Currys there are in the world?
Yeah.
Dude, there's only a handful. And it's just him. Okay. Dude, you want to pull up from like 30 feet. You're not even that strong yet. But I teach them and show them things. And my wife is like, man, you seem so like at peace when you're on the court. And I'm just like, one, I get the joy of just like not thinking, just going with the flow. I know if I want to take over the game at any moment I can, but that would just be selfish of me. I have a chance and
Mm.
opportunity to teach these kids something that no one have taught them. My bad. There we go.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Well,
Like,
have no one have taught
facts.
them.
Wow.
And like I saw one of them like last weekend and he's in a basketball tournament and he's, hey, remember that movie you showed me? Like how to separate myself with the defender? I used it in the game. I scored like 4 points off of it. My coach was like, where did you learn that from? And I was like, yo, see that right there. I was like, the fact that you even scored,
That's what it's about.
that's what it's all about. And that's like the zen. Let's get ready to wrap this up because sooner or later, the
Yeah,
missus is going to
soon.
be barking on me.
Yeah, it's time.
I normally do the segment. The segment is called Beyond the Stigma, and
Mm.
it's only 5 questions. Here we go. Question number one: what is the best advice that you receive about mental health?
Best that I would say the the possibility or the opportunity to deeply love yourself is always there, and trying to and the journey to getting there is like what life's about.
Love
Something
it.
like that. It wasn't exact. I didn't get it right.
Oh no, you did, but loving yourself is key. Most people don't get it. Like you got
Yeah.
to love yourself regardless of if it makes someone uncomfortable. Or regardless if someone like say a certain thing like, "Oh, you got big teeth." Okay, I love my big teeth. You know what I mean? You still have to have that
Yeah,
confidence in you.
fact.
Question number 2, and I think I know your answer for this one. What is your most heartwarming moment when it came to I wouldn't say clients, but let's just use the basketball with the kids. What was your most heartwarming moment when it came with the coaching them up?
Oh, my most heartwarming moment. Oh man, I'm trying to. Okay, I got you. So, real quick, little context. So, I started after school, and I ended up being a substitute teacher, and it was just for one school. It was a charter school, right? And I was like the most beloved sub ever. It started with gym, and I just started subbing other classes. So like when I would walk into the class, like it was a second grade class, it would just be like cheers. Yeah, we gonna have Mr. Lewis.
That's
It's like the
awesome.
most excitement, but to make it take it to the next level is that so for I did a seventh grade for the last month of class, like their teacher, I think she was like about to give birth. So it was the last month, like school was pretty much done the last month. We were just watching videos and talking. And I started having like real conversations with the seventh graders and like breaking things down in ways that like might not been the most professional, but it was the most real they've ever had. And so I found out that later they made a petition for me to be their eighth grade teacher. Like they all made a petition and signed it to get me to be their eighth grade teacher. They didn't do it because I didn't have my degree, but like
That's
that
still
was
amazing.
heartwarming. That was
Yeah,
like the most heartwarming shit, bro. It was
not
like
gonna
I
lie.
can't.
Grown man about to
Woo!
cry. Grown man about to
Yo, it
cry.
was yes,
The
exactly.
power, it's something about kids, man. The energy that they give you.
Yeah.
Question number 3. How can we create a more loving and supportive community regarding mental health?
I think it starts with the individual. I think it starts with what we're doing now. Is first talking about because just you talking about it and I saw what you were doing, it gives confidence for me to be more comfortable talking about it. So I think it starts with the individual person and just putting energy and like understanding that what we're doing, like mental health, is probably like one of the most important things about being a human. If you feel happy, like I said, I've been on both ends. And so I can see that like having a stable, healthy mental health is such like a foundation for community, for health, for family, for everything. Yeah, I think that starts with us and then understanding how important it is and then trying to share it little by little with those we love and do what you're doing.
Oh yeah, man. It's that analogy. I look at mental health as the saying, it takes a village to raise a kid. It's like that.
Yes.
Like when it
Yeah.
comes to that, is that even though for you and I, we've been in obviously 2 different places, but our stories are so like similar in a certain way that you not only went from Philly to like other parts of the world, you realize, man, my mental health wasn't safe here. Let me create a safe space for others. Man, you being that coach for the kids, you creating probably a safe space for them. Whereas, hey, you missed a jump shot. Dad might be on your neck.
Yeah, yeah,
Mom
yeah,
might
yeah.
be on your neck. But you create a place like, hey, it's okay. Not every jump shot you're gonna shoot is gonna go in. Not every jump shot is gonna be perfect. Not everybody who's gonna pass you the ball is gonna be perfect where you're gonna be able to shoot. And that is like something that I look at like creating safe pockets for
Mhm.
others. And the most important person is creating a safe pocket for you. But yeah, no, great. What is the biggest challenge that you face in the mental health field today, and how can you overcome it?
I mean, like today, right now, or like back when
Yeah,
I was
well,
like,
okay,
this
let's go back to Philly. What was the biggest challenge mentally?
challenge. Yeah, I think I gotta harken back to what we already spoke about was like I feel like the most painful memories is was two of them that are intertwined is one, being mad at myself for not being strong enough to kill myself. That was like the darkest, most painful, can't put into words. And then the other one was when I would just like constantly imagine myself killing myself. So I'd be like driving down the street or on the highway and I could be like, yo, like I could just go like this and it would all be over. Like so easy. Boop. Or I'll be looking at the skyscraper, imagining myself jumping off it. That was the most difficult. And I didn't have the tools. All I had was weed.
Uh,
So it was just like an endless loop. It was just like
what helped you
just
overcome
sustained pain.
what helped you
What?
overcome those feelings and emotions?
Really my loved ones. Like, people reaching out like, "Hey, I want you to" although you're going through like, my one friend who asked me to be her manager, partially why she did it because she saw it in such a dark place, and, like, she had talent. It was like, "I'm gonna help you, give you some purpose. Come with me," and now all of a sudden I'm booking shows or whatever, and just like, being able to see some of my friends drop off, and, like, my real ones, like Malcolm, "Yo, no matter what, you're my brother." He wasn't a mental therapist, but just saying, it don't matter what you say online, none of that shit. You my brother. I'm
Like, I
like,
love you
damn, like
regardless. That's important.
exactly, like
Yeah.
my nigga. And like my girl just being like, bro, like you can heal yourself. You can do this. And even her getting frustrated and boom. So, and obviously my mom just like being no matter what, like always giving so much of her energy to me. So yeah, my loved ones just yeah, like I always say, if I didn't have like help, like good friendships, good lifelong friendships, I might have did it. Like
I'm glad you have good lifelong friendships, okay?
seriously,
I
seriously,
I
bro.
am glad that you're here. Last question. How have social media or the internet impact how we discuss mental health and understand, I should say? How do we discuss and understand mental health? There we go.
So I say social media is like a tool, right? It's like a hammer. It can help build your house with a hammer, or you can smash somebody's face in with the hammer. And so I really think it's depending on we have to be conscious about how we want to use it. Social media has really hurt people's mental health, where they see other people balling, lifestyles. Facebook has led to literally like ethnic cleansing in Myanmar, like literally. It's so powerful in a destructive way. But at the same time, there's this potential to share these deep, loving stories and to connect with people. Like there's so many people that, any whatever influencer and they're really powerful and really doing something. There's people like, yo, like you saved my life.
Mhm.
Like you getting on this thing and sharing your story and talking about it has forever affected my life. And then now I have children that have a much better life because you helped. So I'm saying, man, we could build a metropolis or we could tear each other down with it. And it depends on how we want to use it. And like I said, it's, for me, it took me a while, but like to try to consciously use it in a positive way. Time I hop on. We can change the world with this job.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm glad that you said it. For myself, on my healing journey, I had to detox some people that was just toxic. Like, it
Yeah.
is what it is. Like, some people, like, I know you, bro. I know you don't got it like that, but you in the
Right.
gram flexing. Come on.
That ain't
You ain't
healthy.
got it like that, right? And then also for some of the women that I know with the thirst traps. Yo, come on. Oh, this is what we do. And it's only natural as a person you start comparing yourself to others. And for the biggest thing and what I did was like eliminate others. Okay, like You posting thirst trap. Like I'm like we have deep conversations and sometimes we have deep conversations and now all of a sudden you showing like TNA. Nah, I'm good. Let me just unfriend you, my homeboy. Okay, like you acting like you got it, but then you send me a text like, "Yo, you got 20 alcohol?" I'm like, "Let me take this screenshot of the photo that you just you making it rain." Nah, I think Shorty at the strip club got it. And yeah, I'm petty, but
No, no, it's factual statements. This stuff is real.
but then seeing some of my friends because as we get older, you hope to grow and you hope others will grow with you. And really, and being honest, some people just not going to grow with you. They're very happy where they're at, which I'm not gonna ever rain on anybody's parade. But for me, I was like, man, I want to grow as a person. And I started seeing some of my friends that was just posting some of the low vibration memes. I'm like, yo, bro, like that, I don't even vibe like that anymore. I don't care about that. The he said, she said gossip. Oh man, like yo, ASAP and Rihanna's getting together. I'm like, okay, what that got to do with me? I don't know ASAP. I don't know Rihanna. Like, I'm good, bro. Like they making music. Oh, all right, then okay, they happy to happy. But then for others, like some of my friends was posting things that wasn't resonating with me. Like they posting pictures of their cats, of their dogs like, I love pets, but I'm like, yeah, at the same time, I was looking for something that was gonna get me motivated, something that was gonna inspire me to love me. And I started looking at pages that had inspiration quotes, and then started following actually authors that like, oh man, hey, never heard of the Four Agreements, but people talk about this. Let me see what this is about, right? Never heard of the secrets. Let me read this. Then let me see this. Even though I watched the documentary, but it was like, let me learn more. And that helped me really be at peace. And then, okay, this is the type of stuff that I need. Let me start taking away some of the people that I don't need that's at the level that I'm no longer there. That was a part of me at one point. But, as I get older, it's like, man, I'm now reading The Power of Now, right? And just like really getting into that. With that being said, man, I enjoyed our conversation today. And if there's any last words that you want to say, please be welcome. Oh, and also let people know where to find you at too.
Oh, where to find me? Yeah, I'll start with that. So my Instagram is coach.lewis. I also have a YouTube channel that I like haven't really been active on. I think it's Coach Lewis. Maybe I have to put that in the bottom because that might be hard to find. But really, it started with I did a podcast called For the Homies, where I really just interviewed my friends because I was in Ecuador and I wanted to reconnect with them. Also, Sacred Inclusion Network that's like the spiritual community that I'm part of, and Living Ground art is what I'm doing. I'm part of the project in Ecuador, like the compost project. So that's where you find me. And there's one thing that I want to say. I'm trying to bring it all the way back if I can find it. Let's see. I can't. Give me 12 more seconds. All right, I'm gonna go for my head because I can't find it. So it's there it is. So you started with that you like listen to John Mayer or like hybrid theory. And I had that part of me too where I never forget my sophomore year girlfriend put me on to like Bob Marley and the
Yep.
Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and all that. And I was like, yo, like I only listened to rap to that point. But there's this Elliott Smith song. I don't know if Elliott Smith, but it's crazy. Wow. He actually committed suicide, I believe. But he's an amazing artist, and he has these lyrics that he goes, "The people you've been before that you don't want around anymore." And I think about that all the time. We're like, that shit is real. Like
Bro, that's hard. Elliot
that's
Smith?
Elliott Smith, bro. He's
Imma look him up. Imma look as
one of
soon
his
as we done.
my famous white boy songs is called Miss Misery, bro. And this man, he was a lyrical genius and just an amazing artist. But yeah, the last thing is I just gotta appreciate you for allowing me to do this, man. I feel like the energy's flowing through me. I feel empowered. And yeah, what you're doing is amazing. There's not many brothers out here talking about mental health and suicide. So keep going. It's super inspiring. And I feel like we got to connect other ways in the future.
Oh,
And the
yeah, for sure, for
similarities
sure.
are crazy, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we're
so
gonna get more into it.
if you ever want a vacation in Ecuador, bro,
Yeah,
we got come fuck with the Andes. Okay. I had a thought. So my best friend Malcolm, he said that he thinks what happened to me getting beat up by the police was the best thing that's ever happened. And that will forever stick with me because I went through the mud, I went through all the pain, all the everything, and that gave me the fuel, that gave me the power to become who I am becoming right now. And I love my life, man. I love every part of it. I don't have no regrets. I love all the pain. And there's a quote, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to try something like, for those of us who had the pleasure to reach rock bottom, we also know the pleasure of the climb to get back to, let's say, heaven or to whatever purpose we get to. So I had those two things always stuck with me. And yeah, man, that's it, man.
That's no,
This is
I
great.
enjoy that. I appreciate it. With that being said, see you next time. Peace.
Peace. Thank you, bro.